Hi there, this is John Barton from JB Cases. I'm not here to talk about cases today. Today we're going to talk about playing pool, and specifically we're going to be talking about ghost ball aiming in pool. Many of you who follow my videos, you know that I'm a big proponent of what's called center to edge aiming, or CTE. And you've seen me on video also talk about what I feel are the disadvantages of ghost ball aiming. On the AZ Billiards forum, that's www.azbilliards.com, and then just go to forums. You can find an aiming section where a lot of us talk about how to aim in pool. Now, one side of the argument says aiming is just natural. Either you can do it or you can't. Either you have hand-eye coordination and you can aim a cue stick into a cue ball, into another ball, which then goes into a pocket. You either got it or you don't. Then another contingent says, well, aiming is a learned experience, and you should use the ghost ball method, which basically says if you have a ball that you want to hit into a pocket, all you have to do is you have to line up the pocket through that ball and imagine another ball right behind it. And once you do that, all you have to do is hit that other ball and it goes in. That's the basic ghost ball aiming, and it looks great on paper. Let me show you here. So, basic ghost ball aiming, for those of you who don't know, now this is also covered in every beginner book. Every beginner text or book or video online will show you ghost ball aiming. As a matter of fact, Mike Page, a very good instructor and owner of Fargo Billiards in Fargo, North Dakota, has a very good video on how to learn pool in 10 minutes where he shows ghost ball aiming. And for beginners, this is absolutely the easiest way to learn how to aim. Now, let me explain what it is real quick. Basically, I have a ball, and what I want to do is just simply imagine another ball right behind it, and as long as I take the cue ball and replace the ghost ball with the cue ball, this 10 ball, this object ball is going to go straight towards the pocket. Okay, so that's the basic premise of ghost ball aiming. And then it doesn't matter where you put the cue ball. Here, you can put the cue ball anywhere in here, and the actual ghost ball is going to be the same. The cue ball is going to have to be in that spot to send the 10 ball towards the pocket. So it doesn't matter. It can be here, it can be here, anywhere along this arc. Okay, from 90 degrees all the way around to the other side of 90 degrees, the ghost ball remains the same. So that's clear. So no matter what, and no matter what aiming system you use, the cue ball has to end up in that space to make the ball. It has to. Now, the disadvantage to this is when you don't have a marker, when you don't have something to help you to see where the ghost ball is. And here's another little device that we're going to talk about in a minute. This is called the arrow. When you don't have something like this to set up on the shot, or something like this to set up, you'll notice that here, this little device here is pointing directly at the centers of the balls. So you could use either one, and it's going to show you where the center of the ghost ball is. So basically all you have to do is roll over that spot, and you're going to send the object ball in the direction of the pocket. Now, that's how it works on paper. In the real world, of course, you have something called contact-induced throw, or cling, which means that when two balls come together, when this ball hits this ball, it's going to carry the second ball for just a fraction of a moment and throw it off that perfect line. So if you have no friction, then these balls will go perfectly. If you have any friction, it's going to carry a little bit and then go off on a different line. So what you have to do with ghost ball aiming is you have to adjust. So for example, if this is your perfect line to the pocket right here, I'll do this on the table, it'll be easier to see. If this is your perfect line to the pocket, with ghost ball aiming, what you actually want to do is you actually want to estimate how much difference you're going to have to offset the ghost ball to make up for the throw on the ball. Okay, so this is an estimation that you have to make based on conditions. You know, if it's very dry and the table has lower friction, then it'll be less of an estimation. It'll be closer to the true ghost ball center. If it's very wet and clingy, it might be a lot more. And this is something that as a player, if you're going to use this ghost ball system, you have to constantly make that adjustment wherever you think that it's going to make up for the throw is. So, that's the disadvantage, in my opinion, to using ghost ball. The other disadvantage is, folks, you can't see it. If I take this ball right here and I hold it up and I ask you, I can put it on the table, and I ask you to take your finger and put it exactly where the center of the other ball would be, I don't think you can do it. I don't think you can do it consistently. You might be able to do it, you know, pretty close, but you're estimating. If I take it and I put it on the table and I tell you, okay, here's what I want you to do. I want you to take your cue stick right here and I want you to place your cue stick exactly where the ghost ball center would be. I want you to estimate it. Now we're going to lay the cue stick down exactly where I think the ghost ball center would be, standing back here, and we're going to go test it and see how close I got. So right here I have one that's already set up. Now let's see, how close did I get estimating where the ghost ball center is. So there, it's over the center. Now all I have to do is turn it, and we can see how I did. Okay, I'm going to put this right under the tip. Okay, now I'm going to turn it, and we're going to see how well I did. Alright, I'm going to bring the camera over here so you can see how far off my estimation was on where this is. And then we'll check and see what that means for how we're going to hit the ball. Okay, so we're bringing the camera over to look at how close we are. So you can see here that I'm off by about 1/8 of an inch back here as to where the ghost ball center is. Alright, so you see where the Q-tip is. Now we're going to place the balls and show you. I'm going to show you the difference in aim that 1/4 inch makes. So, this is where the ball goes. Let's move that out of the way and keep this one right here. Alright, so this is going to be the direction of travel of the ball. Okay, so here, we'll put the cue ball on there. And this is the actual placement of the 10. Now you'll notice, I want to show you, by misjudging where the ghost ball center is, this is the actual difference that it makes. You will notice that we have a gap between the 10 and the cue ball. So, if the cue ball continues on its path, as you see here, if we come straight down, the actual contact will be here. Now what does that mean? Let's take a look. Let's take a look at the actual contact and where that ball would go if we hit it. So I'm going to use another ball here to go into this ball, and you're going to see what that little tiny bit of misjudgment means to the shot. People say, for example, and especially this one guy on AZ, he says, "Oh, you guys just don't practice with ghost ball enough. You don't think about it enough." Well, here, you saw the misjudgment I made. Now let's take a look. If I just barely hit this ball, if it's right, it should go in. But you can obviously see it's not going in anywhere. Now, I want to show you something. This is what you get if you make an actual perfect ghost ball. This is what it would look like if you were dead on with the same shot. Watch. See how that perfectly rolls in? I can set this up anywhere on the table and it's going to work. As long as I just touch the two, the other ball goes in. So in theory, it's perfect. In theory, all you have to do is roll over that spot. That's all you have to do is roll over that spot and the ball's going to go right in. But in reality, this is what the reality looks like with ghost ball. This is what it looks like when you're playing pool. In reality, this is gone. This is all you see. You don't get a handy little guide on the table to show you where the ghost ball center is. So as you move around the ball, as you move around, your perspective changes as you're walking around this ball. So let's set this up right over the pocket. Okay, so here we are right over the pocket. So you can see the camera center is pointing almost right in the center of the pocket. And you'll notice here I'm going to set this up to be just about in line with the center of the pocket, right there. Now, as I walk around this shot, my perspective changes. The further I get away, the more distance, the farther I am away. Now, you see how difficult it would be for me stretching out to try to figure out where the center of the ghost ball is? Or imagine a full ball right there. I mean, that's the original ghost ball. The original ghost ball is, you're supposed to imagine a fully formed ball right there. So you're supposed to actually imagine a ball there and then simply shoot straight into that ball and replace it. Again, in theory, this is wonderful. on paper, this is wonderful. It's the best way to play pool that there is. If you could do it consistently. If you could imagine with every shot that you take a fully formed ball there, and you're skilled enough to just line up on it and shoot straight into that ball, wonderful. That would be great. You know, if you had a great stroke and you could just shoot, you could line up edge to edge and shoot straight into the ball every time. And you could imagine a fully formed ball right there and just shoot straight into it. That would be perfect. Every time, no matter what. However, the absolute reality of this is that most players and most people can't do that. Especially not shot after shot after shot. You know, as the shots get harder, as they get more distance, they're thinner, it gets more and more difficult to imagine the placement of a ball you can't see. Okay, so the simplified version of this is, okay, let's imagine where the center of the ghost ball would be. The base of the ball. So great. Here we have the device that the guy on AZ recommends that you use. Now this device was recommended by a guy named Arthur Babe Cranfield. Okay, he's a really good he used to be a really good straight pool player. He was one of the best. And his name was on a book called Beginning Billiards, or Billiards for Beginners, or something like that, a very basic book. But actually the guy probably didn't even write the book. You know, it was just that his name was on it. And I mean, we don't know. We don't know if he wrote the book, but there was a co-author on the book. And as it was back in those times, was that generally there would be a staff writer who would team up with a well-known figure to write an instructional book. So the well-known figure, of course, would say whatever, you know, things that he felt needed to be said, and then the writer would write. So anyway, in all of these books, they generally talk about the ghost ball system. Well, of course, when you're writing these books, you want to be a little bit different as well. So in this particular book, the device that was advocated is called the arrow. And this is basically another ghost ball training device. It shows you where the center of the ghost ball would be. The premise on this is that you set this up for your shot and you train yourself to see the angles, you see the coverage of where the center of the ghost ball would be, and you basically develop a feeling for where you need to be. So you're basically training your estimation to be sharper, so you can better and more accurately estimate where the center of the ghost ball would be. So this is how it works in practice. Okay, so in practice, it works like this. This is our object ball. You take the arrow and you point the arrowhead in the direction of the pocket right behind the ball. Okay, and then where the indentation is at the back is exactly where the ghost ball would be. So that means if you take the other ball and you roll it up right behind it, you've got a perfect ghost ball position right there. So now I've got a perfect ghost ball position. So if I just simply roll into that ball, I make it. Alright, great. Now I have a little trainer, I have a little thing here that I can use to place on the table with any shot, and I can teach myself to see the distance behind the ball where it is. Or at least I can look at a guide. But here's the problem with this. Number one, you don't know that you've always got it lined up perfectly. When you have a short distance like this, yeah, that works. When you start to come back here and get a farther distance away, you know, you come back here and you start to line it up. Now things don't look so easy. Now a little bit out of line, and you're actually lined up here to the side. You know? You move it a little bit this way. Now you're lined up to one side of the pocket. So you have to fiddle with this all the time. You have to mess with it all the time to get it lined up dead perfect to shoot this shot. Okay, great. Now I got it lined up dead perfect where I want it, right? Now I go and I shoot the shot and I move the piece. So my little piece moves. Okay, you can solve that problem by putting a little sticky something or other on there. So now I just roll over the spot. There it goes. So I know that all I have to do is roll over the spot and it's going to head right to the pocket. Now again, we are not talking about adjusting for throw here. Obviously now you would have to learn to adjust for throw a little bit using the ghost ball system here. So now instead of rolling over this little bit of the pocket right here, since I know that it's going to throw that way, I'm going to adjust a tiny little bit to try to get it to go right in the center. All great, right? You see that it works. I can practice this shot all day long with this right here, as long as I've solved the problems of the part not moving, which right there it moved a little bit. As long as I've solved the problem of it not moving, I can move the cue ball. And I can do this from any place on the table. And I can develop a feeling for what I would have to do to shoot this ball in. But what I'm not developing, at least in my opinion, by using this, I am not developing a real feel for the shot. What I'm doing is I'm becoming dependent on a device to tell me where to aim. That's what's happening really. So if you then get a shot that you haven't practiced using the device, you're lost. You don't know where to estimate it at. You don't know, I mean, yes, you can use these devices and get sort of a feeling of where the ghost ball center should be. But as I showed you a few minutes ago, if you're off by a tiny, tiny little bit, just a tiny bit, like 1/8 of an inch, or 1/16 of an inch. If you're off by 1/16 of an inch in your estimation, you miss the shot. You miss the shot. So what good is that? I mean, honestly, what good is it if you have to depend on a system or a method that requires you to be absolutely precise in picking out a spot that actually you cannot see? Because you can't. When you don't have the device, you can't see the spot. If you don't have something to help you, to show you where the center is, you can't see the spot. So ask yourself really, is that really a viable system in reality for playing, good pool or decent pool or high level pool? Is it really? I think it's good enough to get you started. I think it's a great system to get any beginner started on figuring out the basic alignment, the general alignment of where they have to be to have any chance at all to make a ball. Yeah, I think that's the easiest way in the world to tell any player where they need to stand to make a ball. And I think that what happens is that most players start out with ghost ball, they use it, they do get that good general feeling of where they need to be, and then what they do is they start to refine that. They start to understand, oh, I need to be a little bit fuller, I need to be a little bit thicker, I need to be a little bit thinner. And essentially what all that is high-level guessing. That's what it is. It's feel. They've taken a system where the system has said, you have to estimate where this phantom object ball is, or where this point is on the table. You have to estimate that, which estimating is also feel. And you then have to move into the shot, and you can adjust a little bit here or a little bit there, you know, if you need to, as you're down on the shot. Some people say that. Some people say once you're down on the shot, you're committed to it no matter what. If you don't feel right, then get back up, look at it again until you find the line that you want. Then you get down and you shoot. And once you're down, you don't waver, you don't adjust, you don't fiddle around and try to figure it out. So there's two camps there. I think that a lot of the pros will tell you that once they get down, if they feel like they need to do something with their stroke, or they need to cinch it a little bit, they will do that, and they know how to do that. Okay, so I think that I do believe, you know, that when you're down on the shot, if you know that you can make something happen by the execution, by the way you're stroking the ball, then, and you know what will happen, then sure, do that. Obviously, you can miss a shot, as I've said in my earlier video. You can be dead nuts perfect on the shot line, absolutely perfect, and you can miss it with poor execution. You can throw the object ball, or throw the cue ball off the shot line, which then throws the object ball off, and you miss the shot, even though your alignment was dead perfect. So therefore, if you can miss a shot by poor execution, then you can manipulate a shot by deliberate execution. So that's another part of high-level pool. But we're talking right now about basic aiming, and whether you really want to depend on the ghost ball system of aiming, or method of aiming, or whether you want to try to figure out a better way to do it. Now, having said that, I feel like that ghost ball aiming carries with it some illusions and perception problems, because I feel like that when you don't have the devices, you don't have the arrow when you're playing pool. As I said before, you know, you're playing for $100. The guy that you're playing is not going to let you put a little patch on the table and line it up to the pocket, you know. Although that might be a good spot. I might give that spot out to somebody someday and see if I bet I could beat them that way. That's the new spot right there, folks, the arrow. Okay? Tell somebody you're going to spot them the arrow, and they can put this down on the table on every shot. In fact, insist on it. Tell them they have to put it down on the table every shot, and watch how their game goes down. Okay? So, anyway, the point is that when you're playing in competition, you know, you don't have devices to help you to line up to the shot. You have to depend on your own brain, and you have to depend on the objects that are on the table. So what I use is center to edge aiming, which is basically starting with the edge of the ball, going back to the center of the cue ball. That right there, just by itself, automatically puts me in the right direction to have any shot to make the ball. So I know that I'm able to hit the ball at that point. I mean, and that's of course what almost anybody could get to without center to edge either. You know, is putting themselves in a position to just hit the ball. However, the center to edge system allows me to have a definite starting point with every shot, every single shot. Now, depending on where the balls are on the table, every shot is its own shot. In other words, if I move the ball, so here's the cue ball, here's the object ball. If I move the ball, now it's a completely different shot. So I have to move my body to a completely different position, no matter where it is. Same thing applies with ghost ball aiming, right? So ghost ball aiming, if the object ball stays stationary but the cue ball moves, then I have to move my body to different places on the table. But here's the difference. When I move my body using ghost ball aiming, I have a different perception when I don't have a guide. I have a much different perception of where the ghost ball is when it's a shallow shot like this than when it's a thin shot like this. So this shot becomes much more difficult when you're trying to imagine where the ghost ball is and pocket this ball. However, when I use center to edge, the edge of the ball from my perception is always the same. Now the actual spot on the ball where I'm aiming at or where I'm lining up to is not the same with the edge. Okay, but I see a full ball and I see an edge. So as I walk up to the ball, I can see the edge and I can come in and end up right where the ghost ball is, even though I don't know where the ghost ball is. And it works from here as well as from here with a shallow cut. Now again, same thing applies. I'm using the edge, but I want to show you something. You see where the edge of this ball is? If I put the cue ball here, look at where my cue stick is pointing. Using the edge of the ball. Imagine my cue ball was right here under the cue stick. You see where it's pointing to? Now, I'm going to place a piece of paper here with the edge of a ball so you can see something, but look, so you can see the ball. This will represent the ball. Look where my cue stick is pointing now. Going right by the edge. If my cue stick comes up and touches the ball right before the edge, it's going to be here. If my cue stick comes here, comes up and touches the ball right before the edge, it's here. So you'll notice that the perception is, as you walk around the shot, you're using whatever edge pertains to that shot. So wherever the cue ball is, no matter where it is on the table, you're using a different part of the object ball to line up. But from your perception, all of it is the edge of the object ball. So the reality is that every single time that you look at this ball, you're actually looking at a different part of the object ball to line up to. But perceptually, visually, you're only looking at the edge of the ball. Now, if I put a ghost ball there, if you have a guide, in reality, if there's a piece of paper on the table showing you exactly where the ghost ball center is, then as you walk around the shot, no matter where these cue balls are, I'm only looking at the center of the ghost ball. That's because I have a piece of paper on the table showing me where the center of the ghost ball is. I don't even have to look at the object ball. It's not even necessary to look at the object ball. Here's the thing. Take that piece of paper away. Now you have to look at the object ball to estimate where the center of the ghost ball is from whatever position you happen to be looking at the ball at. So for example, if I come over here and I've got a thin cut going this way, so if I'm right here and I'm standing down here looking at this shot from all the way down here, now I've got to try to figure out where the center of the ghost ball is in relation to the ball, right here. And if I have a shot that's over here, I have to do the same thing. The only thing is that the ball looks much different from here. It looks much different from here. It looks much different from here. Each time to try to estimate where that is. From all the way back here, that ball is much smaller. So now my estimation distance has to be smaller to try to figure it out. Here I am addressing this ball from all the way back here, trying to figure out where is the center of the ghost ball. As I get closer, it gets easier, of course, to imagine where that spot is. You know, it gets much easier to get closer to it. As I get farther away, it's harder. What doesn't change for my perception, though, is if I'm all the way back here, I can clearly see the ball. And I can clearly see the edge of the ball. So I can clearly line up my body to the center of the cue ball and the edge of the object ball. Every time. That's very clear to me. It's objective. What I can't do with absolute precision, I cannot line up my body to the exact center of the ghost ball because I cannot see it. You can't see it. It's not there. You can only guess at approximately where it is. And if you're right, great, you're going to make the ball, assuming your stroke is good. If you're wrong, even if your stroke is perfect, you're not going to make the ball. So, why would you want to have a method of aiming where you have to guess every single time where you need to line up to? Every time you have to guess. Oh, I think it's right about there. Okay, I'm pretty sure that it's right about there. Okay, let me walk this back. Let me get my body in position. Okay, let me back up. Let me hold it. Let me hold it. Let me hold it. Okay, I'm going to drop my cue in. I think I'm pretty sure it's right there. Oh no, I was off a little bit. Let me try that again. Okay, here we go again. Let's try it again. Alright, I think it's right about there. I pull my cue back. Okay, hold it. Keep your eyes on it. Keep your eyes on it. There we go. I got it. You want to do that every time you shoot? Every time you play? You think you're right? Now, what if most of the time you're right, but some of the time you're wrong? No? What if most of the time you're good to go? I mean, you're pretty good. Your subconscious has figured it out. Pretty easy to do the ghost ball, no problem. But what if you have shots like this, for example, where now it's not quite so easy to figure it out? You know? So your brain's always up there and you're trying to figure it out, and you're always undercutting it or overcutting it. You know? What if you're really inconsistent with shots like this, trying to figure it out? See, I can't even, this is funny. I automatically went to CTE right there to shoot this shot. I looked at the edge of the ball and I automatically went to CTE. I couldn't even force myself to try to use ghost ball on this shot. Let's use ghost ball though, ghost ball center, and try to figure it out from here. So here, okay, that's about where it is, I think. So now I got to try to hold it, move over here. This is obviously exaggerated, but you get the idea. So I'm keeping my tip right there. Okay, let me step in. Let's see if I did good. There we go. You see how cumbersome that is and tiring to try to figure that out? I prefer to use a method that allows me to use the ball very quickly, the edge of the ball, step in, pivot over, shoot the shot, and it's much more precise, much more accurate, and it doesn't depend on me having used a device to try to teach myself how to better estimate. I don't need to estimate. I just look at the edge of the ball, step in, shoot the shot. So, in conclusion, In conclusion, this is a 40-minute video. I'm sorry it's just taking so long. Listen, if you're the kind of person that watches this whole video, then you really want to learn about pool. Okay? If you're not, listen, there's plenty of videos out there that are real short, easy tutorials on how to learn pool. This is a little bit deeper thinking on pool in general, and it basically all goes back to a different philosophy on how to aim, and essentially that leads into how to play. So I know that I ramble on a lot, but there's a reason for this, because people waste a lot of words on the forum, especially the AZ Billiards forum, trying to tear down and denigrate all the other aiming methods out there other than ghost ball. Once again, you know, I want to say that ghost ball on paper is awesome. It's the easiest way to diagram shots. It really shows where the ball needs to go and what the path of the ball is going to be. It's the easiest possible way in the world to learn how to aim as a beginner, if you're a beginning player. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, really, I mean, it's stuck around for a reason. But folks, there's also a reason that there's 1,000 of these, you know, but there's dozens of these ghost ball trainers out there. There's ones you can make yourself like this. There's ones you can buy. There's ones that even use lasers to lay down where the ghost ball is going to be. I mean, you can spend anywhere from nothing. You can make a ghost ball trainer from a business card to spending, you know, $100 on a device that puts a laser on the table to show you where the ghost ball is going to be. So my point is, though, is that the reason that all these ghost ball trainers exist is because the reality of using this method is that it's not easy. You know, if you don't have these ghost ball trainers, then it's all imagination. It's all comes down to your specific ability to be able to accurately judge a distance and a ball placement with nothing other than your imagination. You don't have anything to measure with. You don't have a ruler. You don't have a trainer. You don't have anything else other than your ability to look at a ball, look at a pocket, and then estimate a distance away from that ball that you're going to shoot the cue ball into in order to have the cue ball arrive at the right space to make the object ball go in the right direction. And as I showed you, if you're just the tiniest bit off, your perfect stroke won't help you. In matter of fact, it hinders you, because if you're the tiniest bit off and you shoot it with a perfect stroke, you're going to miss the ball. So what happens when you're a tiny bit off is that your brain has to jump into action and say, okay, listen, what I got to do is I gotta move the ball a little bit. I got to use a little bit of body English, you know, and at the last second I gotta push that ball into a different line to make it, because that's what happens. That's basically what you learn as a pool player trying to use the ghost ball method. Because if you practice with it and you notice, oh, I'm continually off here, or, you know, your brain is not stupid. I mean, eventually it's going to figure out, dude, you are not on the right line. You're a tiny bit off. So you better, you better use a little bit of spin. You better just jimmy it a little bit to make that shot. And that's what happens. So players learn that, and you'll see if you go to any pool tournament and you watch a lot of amateur players play, you'll see them doing all kinds of stuff like that. You'll see, you see a little shoulder movement here, a little movement here, a little butt wiggle, and as pool players, we call that body English. And with some people, it's just hilarious. With me, it was hilarious. Sometimes, I'd watch myself playing, and it would be nuts. Some of the moves I would make to make a ball, and I never could fix it. I could practice all day long on shots, and when I practiced, I would practice a dead straight stroke. I would practice, don't drop your head, keep everything in line. And when I practiced, of course, I would adjust until I found the dead perfect line, and then I would shoot that shot 100 times. Then I go to play somebody, and and I get down on a shot or a slightly different shot, you know, and I would be off, and my brain would say, dude, you're off, and I would use body English to try to make the shot. It wouldn't be a conscious thing, you know. I wouldn't be making a decision and saying, all right, I need to, you know, drop my ass 3 feet here, you know, in order to swing the cue over and make that shot. It would just happen because my brain would say, dude, you're off. You know, subconsciously it would say you're off, and my body would automatically react to being not on the correct line. So honestly, I don't think that Ghost Ball is a good system to use. I really don't. I think it's great for beginners. I think it's a wonderful system to teach people the basic alignment. And I think after a little while, they should drop it and look for something better. And there's plenty of better systems out there. There's plenty of better ways to look at the shot and move into it on a more secure and more accurate line. You know, and those ways don't always reconcile with Ghost Ball. You can't always draw lines on a piece of paper and overlay it over Ghost Ball and say, okay, this is how it reconciles with Ghost Ball, because they don't, because this is a visually perceptive game. You're standing up above the table looking down on round objects on a rectangular table. It's perception. So there are different ways to perceive where the lines are and to see them. And when you're using a solid object like a ball, you know, you've got a solid object to look at, and you can see the edge of the ball every time. If I say to you, line up to the edge of the ball every time, every person in the world can walk over to the edge of the ball from any distance and line their body up to it. They can line their nose right up to the edge of the ball every time. You know, if I say point your finger at the edge of the ball, you're going to point your finger at the edge of the ball every time. If I say point your finger at the Ghost Ball spot, you're going to be off. You know, you'll be right sometimes and you'll be wrong sometimes. Anyway, that's my time. Thanks for watching. You know, I hope that everybody watching this is on a quest to play better pool, and I really hope that you keep an open mind, and if you're a decent player and you want to get better, that you'll think about, you won't be swayed by the people who say, oh, Ghost Ball's the only way to go, and anybody that doesn't believe that's not giving enough time to Ghost Ball. Give the time to Ghost Ball. You know, think about it deeply and try it. And if you still aren't happy that it's working for you to get better, try something else, because there's a lot of much better systems out there. Take care. Bye-bye.